Hi everyone, welcome to Murali End. The World Cup is up and running. Sri Lanka have won their first game against Ireland. I think my blood pressure is just about recovered. I think my heartbeat is back to somewhere kind of where it should be for a resting level. I'm Mark Machado, this is the Murali End. I'm joined by quite an esteemed panel. We've got Sri Lanka's best journalist, Estelle Vazadeva, is at the ground with all the reaction. We got ESPN Quick Info's best journalist, Madishka Balasuria, who is in Colombo as well. And we've got former Sri Lankan coach Anton Roux joining us to go through the game. Estelle, I suppose I should come to you first because you're there. What was the kind of atmosphere like at the end of the game? But also, I want to ask what the atmosphere was like with Ireland kind of about 10 overs to go and looking like they could do it.
It was very strange because just the start off, when things started off, there were two stands, upper stands that were like almost empty, right? And I don't think I've ever seen that in a Sri Lanka game before. And I was like, oh gosh, this is disastrous, because despite all the complaints on social media and the stuff people have been saying about not supporting the team and not coming for games, like I did not expect that. But fortunately, it turned out to be, there had been some kind of problem at the gates and the people weren't able to enter. That's why they were empty. So they filled up pretty quickly. So then the atmosphere kind of picked up. I think during Ireland's innings, right throughout, it was very quiet, because I think everybody was kind of nervous about what would happen, especially because wickets weren't going down, right? But then, every wicket there was a big cheer, and the people really got into it as they do, right? And the atmosphere here is usually so good, when you're in the center. So as things progressed, I think there was a very nervous period of time where it was very quiet. Then things picked up.
Anton, I'll ask you, because you've been in the dugout for World Cup games, for opening World Cup games, when things have got a little bit tricky as well. What do you think would have been going through the Sri Lanka team? Would they have been as nervous as I definitely was, and I think a few other people might have been during that game?
100%. I think the tension was palpable for everyone to see, not only on TV but also if you were there at the ground. I think you could visibly see it in the players, especially in our batting innings after the first 6 overs. And of course, even for the Irish, I felt like it was also quite a nervy and sloppy game for them. So it was quite a tough one to really put down to where things went wrong. But I think at the end of the day, like I said in the previous episode, just get through this first game, get the wind under your belt, and then regroup as take stock of where we are as a team, see who's injured, see who's not, and then we just go from there. But luckily, Sri Lanka got over the line, which is, at the end of the day, that's all that counts.
Yeah, Madishka, let's get into the actual game. Sri Lanka made 163 for 6. They kind of started with all the right intent, with the intent that people have been calling for. And then there was kind of a few kind of sticky middle overs. But then Kamindu comes out at the end. Somebody who's been... Kamindu's story arc with the Sri Lanka national side is just incredible over the years. But in the last 2 weeks alone, it's been quite something. He's in the 11 today, even though this time last week he wasn't in the squad. And kind of actually kind of saves the day for us, right?
It's amazing because so yesterday when the Pakistan game was going on, Fidel dropped a message and just on the group, and he was just like, it's like a drunk man tumbling down a hill and then landing on his feet, right? That's Pakistan. And I feel like with some of our selections, that's how we somehow end up with the right play. And by hook or by crook, we've got Kamindu in there. And again, I don't know, I don't think it's like we don't have the data to back up saying, oh, here, Kamindu is the guy, he's going to come in. It's all of us just kind of watching and being like, he's better than DDS. And you just, at this point, you just got to put your hands together and hope that he does it. And one thing I will say is, just to touch on what you were saying earlier about what the feeling would have been like in the dressing room. So what I've gathered from the dressing room is that that Sanath is a very kind of emotional coach, and that permeates through to the players. So if he's in a good mood, if things are going well, things will go well. But if things are not going well, like he's not going to be a Stephen Fleming or a Brendan McCullum who's just going to have a level head and keep everything, sane. It's everyone's going to feel it. And I feel like Kamindu is just the type of guy who would just not let the externalities affect him. That's the kind of vibe you get from it. His innings made perfect sense in that context.
Anton, presumably you would have worked with Kamindu at various times over the last few years. Can you kind of shed any light on what his personality is like and how he would have approached kind of the last few weeks?
Well, I think, as I mentioned in the previous episode, I also didn't know what Kamindu's status was, why he wasn't playing in the England series. All of a sudden, he's brought back into the squad. Is that a sign that he's going to be in the squad and not play, or they're going to push him into play straight away? Anyway, he comes in and plays in the starting 11. I think it's a great opportunity for him to actually play with a bit of freedom, because he's actually trying to prove a point to people saying, hey, why am I not in the squad, first of all, and now I'm getting a chance. So here, look at me go. I also mentioned previously on the previous episode that I think what got Kamindu going was he's one of the only guys in the team that's really good on the reverse sweep. And I think he got two boundaries away with the reverse sweep. It sort of broke the shackles a little bit, and then he started getting his innings going from there. So I think he's a great option to have against spin at Premadasa, because he gives you those options. But he turned out to be the impetus that Sri Lanka needed, and possibly the game winner at the end of the day.
Yeah, we should also kind of talk about Crystal Mendes as well, because I was going to say he batted through, but he bats at 3 now. But he batted a whole 18 overs.
Yeah, I think what we saw from Kusal there was a dare I say it, a very mature innings from him, because at any one stage I felt that they could have pressed the panic button and things could have collapsed badly. In saying that, they should have they dropped both of them. I think Kamindu was dropped on 19 and Kusal was dropped also quite early. I think the combined runs for those drops were like 40 runs or something. But that's cricket, that happens. But I think the innings that Kusal played was a very mature one, and that actually helped that innings gain momentum with the partnership and eventually got Sri Lanka to a decent total.
I should say we are live, and my internet, so I might fall out at any point, but I'm sure if I do, you three will carry it on. Estelle, I wanted to ask what the atmosphere was like in the press box. First, when Kusal was saving the game, because we know that some prominent Sri Lankan journalists are very big fans of his, and like to herald him, let's say, and also what it was like when it had totally slowed down in those middle overs, because I was anxious and I was about a million miles away. I can't imagine what it would have been like in with all the chatter off the press box.
No, the majority of chatter was actually about the lack of boundaries. I mean, if we look at it, I think the last delivery of the power play was when they got a boundary, and the next time a boundary came was is 15.3 overs, right? So there was a massive gap between boundaries there, and I think what was kind of disappointing to see was there didn't seem to be that intent to score quickly or get those boundaries, and that was kind of something that was being discussed in that look. Even someone like Pawan Ratnayaka, he looked very silly. His dismissal looked very, very silly, right? But he was trying to do something different and trying to get something going in that, right? And I mean, disappointing to say, but like someone like Shanaka was booed walking off the pitch after getting out for 0. But I feel like that is a shot that he played, an unselfish shot, right? He's trying to get things going, and he plays that kind of shot. Sometimes they come off, sometimes they don't. But in that period where we didn't see boundaries, it was very difficult to see any kind of real push towards trying to get that. I understand possibly there is a conversation with someone like Pathum or Kusal that they need to bat through because they are the form batters and they've been the best batters for Sri Lanka. But from the other end, there was a bit of a lack there. And as Anton said, it was those couple of boundaries that came off Kamindu kind of doing something different that pushed the total along. Having said that, I would say Sri Lanka very lucky to come away with like a total of 160, because there were 7 chances or something that went down, plenty of misfields. So very lucky. I mean, we can credit Kusal, the 2 Mendises, but at the same time, like, things could have gone very differently in the middle if those opportunities were taken.
Yeah, I can't.
Sorry.
Go on.
No, I just wanted to say to Mark, like, I think we touched on it in the previous episode. It's like I saw zero intent once the first 6 overs finished, and we said conditions obviously play a huge role in how you try and go about your scoring, but it just looked like the guys were standing still at the crease. Now, I'm not saying you should double step every ball, but there was no giving themselves a bit of width. There was no coming inside the line of the ball. There was no faking to go leg side. There was no showing the bowler a bit of your stumps. There was no innovation. There was no forward thinking. They were just waiting for Ireland to bowl a bad ball. And good teams and good bowlers are just not going to give you that at international level. And before you know it, what is it? Our middle period went for 37 runs at 4.6 runs and over. It's just not good enough. It's not good enough.
Yeah.
And yes, the wicket wasn't turning like it wasn't a very bad wicket, but we'd also said that it's not what people must understand is that there's a difference between a ragging turning pitch that a spinner comes on and it beats the bat every single time. But tonight showed you that apart from the first 6 overs for each innings, every batsman struggled with timing out there. So as soon as the ball stops or grips a little bit in the wicket and it's not conducive to shot making, you have to become inventive around how you're going to manipulate your feet or your body to access different areas of the field. And I thought Kamindu did that extremely well. And it sort of gave him and Kusal a bit of a blueprint of how to go about it. So if I'm Sri Lanka moving forward, I would look at those 2 guys as inningses, and I would discuss that in the batting group and say, if we're in this position again, this is the type of thing we want to see from the batters. Move around the crease, be a bit more progressive in your intent to score runs, and then the boundaries will naturally come from it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think it was really highlighted if you managed to catch Sky the previous day, because the pitch India were batting on was arguably worse in terms of the stickiness of it, and the way Sky was playing was like he couldn't bowl to him. I think I saw him sweep one for 6 from wide outside off, right? Because that was where the gap was. And obviously, I'm not saying play like the world's greatest 360 player, of course not. But there is definitely truth to what you said in Kamindu. Of course, the reverse sweep, he was accessing areas. That was great. Kusal, he's got that wonderful ability to just pull pretty much any length now. He's pulling it off the stumps even. And I think one thing that we could, if the coaching staff was listening, I just tell them, like, you need to give these players, like, you need to get them confident in their abilities. Because at the moment, it seemed like they were very fearful. That middle of a period, it came across like they just did not want to have another collapse. So they were like, let's just take it deep. And even then, they, like you said, like Estelle, you pointed out, there were drop catches, so many missed chances. And it took, Kamindu was hitting at 230, right? That's what got us to 160. That's not
because
sorry.
Yeah, no, so say, like, also what happens in the midst of you showing intent, the bowler inadvertently starts changing what he's doing, right? So he's not going to stick on his length for as long. So he tries a little arm ball, or he tries a back of the hander. All of a sudden, that doesn't work too well. He gets a freebie, bang, there goes a 4. So that's the whole thing about intent. Intent doesn't always mean smack the ball out of the ground. And I think that's where sometimes players get it wrong, or sometimes where coaching staff don't get the message across right to their players. Like, intent is all about being busy at the crease and figuring out what my options are on this type of wicket, and I thought Kamendu did that brilliantly.
Yeah.
Can I talk about the confidence thing? Because in my opinion, all Sri Lankans, not just the cricketers, we're all kind of confidence people, right? I think that's just the way the nature of it is. Sorry if my internet's terrible. I think it's because everyone around me in London is streaming the Premier League illegally. And I kind of wonder is it a case that now that we've got this first win, the kind of confidence will kind of come through a little bit? Because I feel so many of our players have played inside themselves today, particularly with the batting. And actually, we saw towards the end of the Irish innings, when we started to get wickets, suddenly the fielding gets sharper. Suddenly, you look at all those catches towards the end, you're like, maybe we might have dropped one or two of those earlier on. But as we got more and more confident through it, it kind of lifted all of us. I say all of us. I mean, I wasn't playing, but everyone else, the guys who were playing, seemed to be lifted.
I think
Yeah.
like you have to go with the fact that like there's a lot of pressure on them, and I think the players are feeling it, right? Because there's been so much criticism on social media, and like no matter how much you talk about like shutting out the outside noise. I mean, Shanaka spoke about it at the pre-match press conference as well, saying that you have no control over whether fans support you or not. They're all human, right? It does have an impact when you're constantly seeing negative things on social media, or people sending you things on WhatsApp, or none of them are unreachable. No, they're all like on their phones or whatever. So I think the team as a whole probably came into this game under a lot of pressure, and so the confidence thing is that, like, if you look at Patham's innings, right, that's not how he's batted. That's not how he's had success over the last 18 months. He's been a lot freer. Kusal Mendes, similarly, like I said before, you feel like there may have been a message that we need one of you two guys to bat through, because we've had so many collapses. And today Sri Lanka played 6-4, 6-5, although we didn't expect it, right? They went with that extra bowling option. Then that puts even more kind of responsibility on those batters. And I feel like just the pressure from outside was really sitting heavy on them. And that's what you saw in terms of the confidence. And like you said, once the game went on, I think particularly with the bowlers, having Chamira, Tikshana and Pathirana to close out that innings would have given them a lot of confidence, right? Because even if it's 10 runs, if it's like 10 runs and it was 10 runs and over of the last 4, I think. Having those 3 guys, it's going to take a really good effort from the batters to get those runs, because they are so good at the depth.
Yeah, I think the confidence is a huge thing within the Sri Lankan team. I believe it was even a thing when I was part of this team for 3 years. But you know what I put this down to? I think this is exactly the time where coaches like Sanath and Malinga earn their money, because they're not there to bowl the ball for the boys. You've got to forget about that. What you have to do now as a coaching group is you've got to surround those guys with the utmost confidence, support, protection from everything that's happening outside. That is what I see that their role is about right now, because they're experienced players, ex-players that have been there, done that. Plus, you've got guys like Kusal, who's been around for years and years now. Plus, you've got Wani there, Dasun's there. Like, the experience in the camp is there, and that is where these senior players and these coaches need to stand up and just create that bubble, so that we see a team that walks out there. Like, when I was watching the guys play in field in my day, when I saw the Sri Lankan team smile and laugh while they were playing cricket, I knew it was going to be a great day, because the guys were enjoying what they were doing. But as soon as I see them, shouting or not smiling, or people are not high-fiving each other, or whatever the case may be, then I know something's going on and they're feeling the pinch. And so you have to try and create that environment as best as possible. And this is where the senior guys need to stand up now.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, I couldn't have said it better myself. It is so important that they remind the players of what they're good at, because everything on social media is geared towards telling the players what they don't do well, where they're failing, where they need to improve. So it's I'm telling you right now, the players know this. Like, they are aware. So leave that aside. They will work on that. But I think it's so important, like you said, the coaches need to say, like, okay, so this is what you did well today. You caught brilliantly. Keep that up. You took the pressure with the ball. You did brilliantly there. Keep that up. And with the bat, you can say, right, okay, it was a bad day at the office for a couple of guys, but still incredibly mature enough from Kusal. Amazing from Kamidu. You keep that up. You get a few other guys to support. Another day, you tell Shanaka, you know what, that shot comes off. You hit a 6, and your innings is up and running. So that is, yeah, I couldn't agree.
Because Zimbabwe and Australia are waiting for us, and I tell you, Oman's not a pushover either.
Yeah.
So what's another positive I think for Sri Lanka in this game is that they've been put. Well, I believe that they were put under huge pressure today, and they got over the hump, which is a positive. So you've got that first game under the belt. You've got rid of the jitters and the nerves and the twitches and the squeaky bums and the sweaty palms and everything. Now it's like, okay, head down, close the camp, focus on what you need to do for the next game, and we need to get better in a few areas. Simple as that.
Shall we talk a bit about the bowling? Then I'll open the room up to what's coming and join us, and we'll have a look at some of the comments as well. Two things that kind of stuck out for me today was, even though I'm not distant his overs, but Dustin Shanaka bowling 2 overs and kind of more thing that's going to dominate the conversation of the Sri Lanka team for the next few days is Wanindu Hasaranga's fitness and his hamstring. In our kind of Murali End WhatsApp group, which me and Estelle and Dominica are in, I said, because Russell Arnold kept saying, well, this could be the last time we see him bowl for the tournament. But my kind of reading of it, and maybe it's because, I come from a more kind of rugby playing background, was that if he was that injured, he wouldn't have been able to bowl these 4 overs. And if they thought he was really bad, they would have just pulled him off and started giving him treatment immediately. I don't know what you guys and everyone else in the group thought about it, because I know Estelle, you thought they were part of the max, we ain't going to see him again.
Because, it's like this. A hamstring injury is going to take a couple of weeks to recover from, right? So I feel like if they see a chance of him, like if they see it something that he can recover from, they would have taken him out immediately and just said, like, look, we need you for the rest of the tournament. These guys are going to get the job done. The way I see it, they went ahead with it because they feel like, this is the game he's going to have to, like, show his, perform, because he might not get an opportunity in the rest of the tournament, or at least in the group stage.
Yeah, I think
Anton probably got like
No, Mishka, you go. I'll
I think that's a fair take. On the flip side, it's Wanindu. I have seen him literally hopping and winning an LPL trophy, right?
Yeah.
So he will pay. He's got previous for playing through injury and pain. So there is I would say there's a non-zero chance that he continues on one leg strapped up, because he was playing with a hamstring injury for quite a while before he had the surgery as well. So it's not like it's a new thing. And I don't know, Anton, you can probably enlighten us a little bit more on like how it impacts.
I think I'll start off by saying, like, I think there was a stat showing on TV that he's the Sri Lanka's highest wicket taker now in T20 World Cups, which is, it shows you what a competitor he is. It shows you how world class the guy is. I mean, everyone sort of knows that, but I think the identity and the soul of this team is built around Wanindu, because he plays such a vital role for Sri Lanka, especially in those middle periods of trying to break through the game. He's a lion-hearted cricketer. He likes the pressure. He wants the big moments and that sort of stuff. My question mark is, regardless of whether he's injured or not, if he's really struggling, like, how are you going to hide him in the field? Then he becomes obsolete with the bat in the batting lineup. So what does that do to the rest of your lineup? So, I mean, I get Medusha's point. I saw him do that for Candy as well when he was. It was for Beloved Candy when he was injured, right?
Yeah.
Right?
So I've seen him do that as well on the LPL stage. But, this is a World Cup, and I don't think you can take that gamble if he's not I would take Wanindu if he's 80% fit. I'll take that. But if the guy can't run after a ball, if there's a catch that's needed to be taken, or if he can't bat properly and run between the wickets, then I don't see the point really of doing that. So maybe, this is just me hypothesizing. I think I first thought when they bowled out the rest of his over, it was like, well, listen, just let him bowl these 4 balls and we'll get him off the park and assess him. He ended up taking that wicket, which I think was a crucial wicket again. And then they could have probably sent him out there and just said, listen, this, Wani might have said, this is my last game of the World Cup. I want to go and play it and win this game. Because if we lose this game against Ireland, basically our backs up against the wall, and we sort of need to rely on other results to go Sri Lanka's way for us, for Sri Lanka to progress to the next phase. So I think they rolled the dice to get him back on the park. I think it paid off, to be fair. And now the selectors and the coaching staff have got to make a massive call to say, look, if we keep him in the squad, how does that affect the rest of the lineup? So again, the coaches, this is where you earn your money. This is where you earn your stripes.
Can we talk a little bit about Dusan Chanaka bowling 2 overs? Not that they were bad overs, but I kind of feel that maybe there's other wicket-taking options who in our lineup who didn't get to bowl out today. And I felt Ireland stayed on stand-up bowling a lot of spin. And I kind of felt like maybe we missed the trick by not bowling spin in the middle overs. But again, I think all three of you know more about cricket than I do, so maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I'll quickly start off there with I was over the moon that Walalage got a game today. I think he's the future of Sri Lankan cricket, not only from a skills perspective. I think he's a great human being. He's a future leader for us for sure. But this guy's left arm spin bowling has gone through the roof. The work that he did with Craig Howard while I was there, because it was a stage, in the beginning he played a lot of games, and then he sort of got dropped. And that's where he did a lot of work with Craig behind the scenes and just working on his seam presentation and getting a lot of overspin on the guy is a quality spin bowler, and he reads the game very well. So I think he's, especially in these conditions at Premadasa, he's a 4-over bowler for me every game. He can also bowl in the first 6 overs, so he gives you a few options. And I think, Dusan wouldn't mind me saying this, but, in my mind, unless the scenario or the situations dictate otherwise, he's a perfect 1 to 2 over option for me to sneak in once there's a wicket or whatever the case, to buy a few overs there in case some of our seamers are going for runs. But, if Dushi's bowling like he's bowling and Matisha's bowling like he's bowling, there's no need for Dusan to pick up the ball and bowl anywhere from the 16th over onwards. There's just no need. So what he did today and how he used himself and how he rotated his bowlers, I thought was pretty good. And I think he possibly bowled himself those 2 overs because Wanindu was off the field. So, he was trying to mix and match. And once, obviously, Wanindu came back out when he finished his 4, which then means that the other guys sort of missed out. So I think that's where that clarity comes in there, Mark, if that makes sense.
Just to jump in there, I think would it be fair to say, like, obviously, Anton, Dusan, right? Would it be fair to say that given the amount of criticism he gets in terms of his contribution with the bat, and that he is in the side as that fast bowling all-rounder, that he does feel an amount of pressure to actually, do some bowling during the game, just to say that, okay, look, I am in this team not as only this finisher. My role is also to bowl those, as you said, those to sneak in a couple of overs here and there when the opposition is not able to or not looking to score big runs, right? Would it be fair to say that there is a level of influence that comes from the criticism he is getting about his role in the team?
Yes and no. I mean, he is captain of the team. So a lot of the times when he makes that decision to bring himself on, he probably backs himself to make an impact for the team at that particular time. So I would much rather see him bowling than not bowling, because that means he's actually wanting to do something. And he could easily sit in the background and go, guys, you bowl. So, and for his batting, like it's only a matter of time until he plays a match-winning knock for us. That's, if you bat at that position, you're either hero or you're not, and that happens almost every single game. The great players can try and do that consistently as best as they can. But if you're winning games, I think at about 30%, 3 out of 10, you're doing a very good job, right? Because it can't always just be on you. And as far as his wicket goes, like facing that McCarthy over, where McCarthy didn't even know where the ball was going to go at one stage. It is so hard for a batsman to sort of line up a bowler, because you don't, like, one's going over your head, one's a wide off the pitch. It was crazy. So and unfortunately he mistimed it. But I've got full I said this before, I think he's our best captain on the park. He's the best leader there. I think in 2020 cricket, a very good, calm, experienced captain is actually worth an extra player. So even if he doesn't score runs, or if he only bowls one over, or his over goes for a few runs, the fact that he's on the park making those decisions, he's been there, done that. He's Sri Lanka's highest winning, captain of winning games in T20s for Sri Lanka. So the guy's like earned his stripes, right? So he's there doing his job. I think as a fan base and as a country, we just need to support our captain for once. Please, let's just support our captain, give him the confidence, give him the boost that he needs, because when he walks out in that field, he's got the world and country on his shoulders, because he wants to perform so badly for him, And I just hope and pray for him that he has another knock or two like he did against Australia at Palekele, where he literally just carries the team forward, because I know he can do it. But I just feel that, like I said to you earlier about the team and the coaches creating that bubble around the team to give them confidence, I think we as fans and all the platform, like, this is a World Cup. Let's just support the captain during the World Cup, and let's have a debrief after the World Cup. But during the World Cup, we need to support him as much as possible. That's my rant for the day. Sorry.
Madishka, I was going to ask you about another bowler who's got detractors, should we say, within the fan base. That's Mahesh Theekshana, who really came through today, though, didn't he?
He always does. I have been a big proponent of Mahesh. I've written about him, and I genuinely love him, especially in T20s. In T20s, he is so invaluable because, okay, he can have off days, right? Any bowler can have off days, but what he provides, he bowled at the death today. He bowled in the power. He opened the bowling. Like, you name me another bowler that can do that, and he can contain if you need him to contain, and he's very difficult to get off when the conditions kind of suit him. So today the conditions did suit him, and he showed it. So, and he's a lot of the time, like, unless the conditions are bad, unless the ball is wet or whatever it is, he's very reliable, and I love him. I mean, honestly, the only thing, like, if I was Theekshana, I would just get in the nets, bat a little bit more, and just make myself useful with the bat. Become a kind of a Shaheen Afridi, just long handle player, but someone that can just do something, because I think that would make him far more invaluable. And his fielding, I mean, people complain about his fielding, but he's taken a few blinders here and there, and, like, he moves a bit sluggish, or he looks like he moves sluggishly, but I don't know. I don't see him as like that much of a liability. I like him, and I think he's just great, and we're so lucky to have him. And I think when you really look at our bowling side, right, we've got two quicks now who are clearing 145 kph, like, they're hitting 140, 145. They're accurate as hell. They're landing Yorkers and slow balls at will. We've got one of the best leg spinners in the world. We've got a mystery bowler in Theekshana who can do it all. And then, you've got Velalage, who, again, I absolutely love, just like, I mean, Anton does it better. So I think we've got a phenomenal bowling outfit. And I don't think people realize that. Like, I put a message on a WhatsApp group just today. I was like, we will get bailed out by our bowling, and I had to like qualify it, but like I don't mean this in a negative way, but that's just how good our bowling is, and I think we need to appreciate that.
Yeah,
Do you know
Teachin
what? That was
actually
one of the reasons.
the
Oh, go on, Asti.
the biggest thing I think is that how much flexibility does he allow the captain, right? Because he can bowl in any phase, and he's not a weak bowler in any of the phases. Like he'll bowl the power play and not give away too many runs. He'll bowl the middle overs, pick up wickets. He'll bowl the death and not give away runs. So like he gives you so much flexibility. Now I know we are seeing Patirana bowling in the power play now or in the last couple of games, but because Theekshana is there, you don't actually have to use your quick bowlers for 3 overs or 2 overs up front, right? You can always keep that type of like a bowler like Patirana to have like 3 overs in the death, because you've got the flexibility provided by someone like Theekshana. I think that is his biggest value. And people talk about, look, he hasn't gotten wickets in this amount of time or whatever, but that's not necessarily his role, is it? His role is to bowl in the toughest periods of the game. And I think in those periods, yeah, wickets are great, but keeping runs down, or he's bowling at like his economy is consistently like 6-7, right? And that gives so much flexibility and value to the team, and allows Shanaka or whoever the captain is to kind of push in the other bowlers where he wants. Like he doesn't have to bring Manindu in the power play because he knows he's got those overs covered by Theekshana, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I think Matisha is worth he's a pot of gold for the team, because, like you guys rightfully say, he can bowl wherever the captain wants him to bowl. I feel with his pace in the way that he can move the ball, I think if he hits the wickets, if he continues to try and just keep hitting the stumps and bowl that stump line, I think he'll start taking a lot more wickets. I think it's when he slightly errs just off the stumps, if a guy gets an edge or they try and hit you and he skews it over the fielder, the ball can sort of go anywhere in the field and you're not really in control of that. So if Mahesh can really zone in on those stumps, I think you'll see him keep his run rate, because I agree with Esti, it's world class, but you'll then start seeing guys having to take risks off those deliveries that he's bowling from in line with the stump. So then you're bringing bold, LB, all those sort of things into play. And as soon as the batter makes a mistake, he'll start picking up wickets. But I just feel in the last couple of years, he's bowled a bit too wide outside off, and that's allowed batters to score off him a little bit more freely.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good point. Like I would just show him
guys,
videos of Anil Kumble. It's like,
yeah.
What Kumble ball?
Yeah,
Mark.
I was going to say, I've opened up the studio so we can get some of the people in to join. I'll bring Kulanu up. Kulanu, you can tell us how you feel about the game today. While you're doing that, I just reset my internet. I think Liverpool must have scored or something. I don't know what's going on over here.
No worries, Mark. Thanks, everyone. I think I'm happy and content to begin with, because to be honest, we've been looking for the right result for a number of days now. So to get the win rather than the loss is the first, point of relief, I would say. And then we had a good game overall, except for little periods of our past mistakes and not learning from what we have been going through coming into play. But I think we got the double Mendes special, I think, in the end. And then our bowlers, as you were saying, as the overs were counting down, I was looking at who was remaining in our sort of bowling to bowl the last 4-5 overs. And I had the confidence that they would be able to defend a score that is maybe about 12 runs and over or 10 runs and over. I think the major positive that I saw today, where the management committed to the 6-5 combination, I hope that they can persist with it, because at that point, then the captain has the confidence to even use himself as a 6 bowling option, or even, let's say, Chamir or Patiran or whoever has a bad over, he can cover that. So hopefully, rather than carrying that extra passenger batter who might face maybe 2-3 balls, except when we collapse, even 11 batters can collapse, right? So I hope the team persists with the 6-5 combination. That is where Velalage can come into his own, not extra pressure on him as a second spinner. Theekshana can bowl at anywhere. Matisha Patirana can bowl anywhere, and then Dashun Chanak also can do his thing in his own way. So I feel like in the squad, when we have good bowlers, why do we keep them in the bench rather than putting them into the 11? If our strong suit is the bowling, so let's go with that. I would say overall good performance, because India also had a little bit of a scare. Pakistan had a little bit of a scare. England and Nepal was a good game. So all in all, like, just getting the first win out of the way is good. I know there's a lot of noise outside. This is the conversation, but I don't think that noise is entirely um, how do you say, it's not unfair criticism per se, because it's people are frustrated of how we have somehow not prepared well enough for the World Cup in certain ways. But now I think I'm totally behind the team as well, and many people are, hopefully they can focus on the good things. But as you've been saying, the work is cut out for us, because each and every game is a pretty much like a knockout game, right? Because net run rate comes into play, other results comes into play. So I hope they take the positives, but also not stop working on some of the things that we wanted to get better, like the intent in the middle. Because for example, Logan Tucker and like Harry Tector, they batted really well. They ran hard. They had about 7 runs per over. We actually scored slower and lost wickets also. So it's not like we tried to do something and lost wickets. So hopefully we can get some of those little things right, and then hopefully next game is going to be also a win for us. But anyway, just happy because rather than losing, winning is a nice note to start on, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Give me
that's kind of the, at the end of the day, like, you're looking at the table, you're not going to say, oh, Pakistan almost lost or India had a scare, right? 2 points on the board, you're up and running in the World Cup. So that's that. At the end of the day, those are the things that matter. Just on to pick up on one thing, like using Velalage, I thought it was interesting that they sent him up the order as well, because that's something that we've been talking about a lot on this show. Dom, in particular, has been saying, like, look, you need to bring him up the order, because if you compare, like, if you maybe Janet Leon against the other batter they've tried, right, as that 7th batter who can give you a few overs. If you compare the two of them, is Janet Leon that much a better batter than Dunit? Whereas Dunit will, of course, offer you much better bowling, right? So I thought it was interesting that they actually sent him up the order and gave him that opportunity. It didn't come off today, but it was good to see, because as Anton said, like, from that under-19 World Cup itself, like, I think if you watched him and people who've seen him, you can see that he has a good game sense. He knows how he needs to go about things, and he can understand what needs to be done right out in the middle. So I thought it was really interesting that they pushed him up the order. Also interesting that Kulnu mentioned they committed to the 6-5 combination. I don't know, Sri Lanka cricket doesn't commit to anything, right? I don't know.
I guess full swap for the next game. Let's see when the 11 is announced, especially with the fitness of Vanu Hasaran, right?
I do think they committed to the 6-5 because it was Ireland. Like, I think that was probably something that played in their heads, like, okay, we should be able to do this with 6 specialist batters. Will they continue that when they play Zimbabwe, when they play Australia? I don't know. I'd like to think that they would, because I think that's our best chance of winning. You put your best bowlers there, and if Wanidu is fit by some miracle and he continues, that's great. If not, they will. I'm pretty sure they'll bring back. They'll have to bring in a parachute in a replacement, because there's no other spinner in the squad. So they'll need to bring in probably
Van der Sar, no?
Jeffrey, yeah.
Or Hemanta, because they're going to look for someone who can bat, right?
Yeah, so Hemanta would be the overall choice, because he bowls a bit quicker, which is a bit harder to get away, fair enough. And he's not as good a wicket-taking option, but he's a way better fielder.
No, I'm not saying they should. I'm saying like
Yeah.
most likely.
Yeah, and he came back. But yeah, if you wanted Vyas, there's Sananda just Vyas is a good shout, but I don't know what's happening with Vyas. They just don't pick him. Taranga's selection committee didn't pick him, and Pramodia's selection committee didn't pick him.
Yeah. Look, I think, I've been saying this for quite a number of years now. It's like if I was a Sri Lankan spinner, watching these games and thinking, how am I going to get into the team? Work on your batting. Like that is the way that you get yourself into this side. And if you're a semi-decent spinner, which all Sri Lankan spinners are, but you can bat and give the captain an option in the top 6, you'll be playing international cricket for Sri Lanka for a very, very, very long time. And I think that is what India and New Zealand do very well, is that they've got spinning options that bat in the top order. So any prospective young spinners watching the show, get yourselves into the nets, work on your batting as well as your bowling, of course. But this is the way that you're going to get yourself into the team, because all these bowlers that you mentioned are great. They're nice. They're good options, but none of them can give you what the other guys can give you with the bat. None of them can give you what you need with the bat in order to go for that lineup that everyone's craving to have, right? So I think that's a little bit of an Achilles heel when it comes to Sri Lanka. But in saying that, I think, as you guys have said, the bowling is definitely our strength, and we should lean on that as much as we can.
Can I just add, on Wednesday, I tweeted out what my desired 11 for this game would be, and it was this exact 11.
Oh, awesome.
So to tempt it, I might do another one this Wednesday. And
have you been sending lump prize to SLC?
No, I have not sent any lump prize to anyone in the selection committee. I'm not entirely sure how that's happened. Kulinu, we'll say thanks for coming on. Dineth, I know you were waiting backstage and we didn't get to you. Sorry, it's a busy old show today. It's the first day of the World Cup, so there's a lot to talk about. But I'll bring Arsene on. Arsene, bro, how's it going? How's Istanbul?
How's it going, guys? Nice to see all of you guys again. Yeah, I'm doing good, man. It's really, really cold today. But yeah, no, good performance. Very happy. Finally, we won our first match of a tournament. I think this is something that we've been asking for a while. But to be honest, I think there's a lot of things that we need to improve on, especially our batting. Because I think Ireland kind of made it a little bit easier for us with the misfielding and everything. And I think at one point we didn't even hit a boundary for almost 10 overs. But overall, like a good performance. I thought, towards the end, I thought we bowled really well. Tishana, nice to see him kind of change it up a bit, actually bowl stump to stump, as opposed to like bowling wide off the crease and giving the batters, like room to free their arms or whatnot. But kind of worried about Hasaranga, I ain't gonna lie. Even though he was bowling on one leg, I mean, I wanted to ask you guys as well. Do you think it's viable to drop him against Oman in case that he gets fully fit against Australia? That's also something, and who's going to replace him if he gets dropped?
I'll defer to Anton for this because I have absolutely no idea how you manage a hamstring injury. Also, I think at this stage we don't know how bad it was as well.
Unfortunately, with Wani, it seems to be a recurring issue. He's got a history with hamstrings, and that's not a good sign. But in saying that, every injury is different. Every injury you got to treat differently. Let's think about the repercussions once we know what happens. But I think I mentioned earlier, it's like, how injured is he? Like, I'll still take an 80% Wani for sure, but anything less, I think he starts influencing the rest of the guys around him and how you set up your lineup and that sort of stuff. So I don't want it to impact the team too much, even though he is the heart and soul of our team. So it's going to be a long night for the medical staff tonight. I can tell you that. There's going to be emails backwards and forth to the big cronies of SLC to see what they can do. Perhaps take him to a temple down the road and see if they can fix him over there. I don't know. It's going to be a long night tonight, that's for sure. But hopefully, fingers crossed, that it's not too bad and Wanindu's back on the park next game.
Yeah, I was just looking at Dasan's quotes after the game, and he said he's got a hamstring problem, but hopefully it will not be serious. So non-committal as ever, but there's hope.
There's hope. As long as
Maybe
there's
it's
hope.
best just. Sorry, go on.
Now I said, as long as there's hope, we cling on to that. Like we could also be sitting here now talking about how the hell did we lose that game to Ireland, but I think we've like ST said, there's 2 points on the board. We're top of the log, and that's all that counts.
I also think the kind of way that we beat them today, like for all of us, it feels quite stressful. But I wonder if other teams will look at it and be like, do you know what? They didn't even play that well. And you look at the other results that we've seen. England nearly lost to Nepal. The USA got much closer to India than I think anyone else thought they were going to get. Netherlands got quite close to Pakistan. All right, Scotland got well and truly beat by the West Indies. But the way these pitches are, it seems to be like the gap between the more established cricket sides and the less established teams seems to be kind of closing a little bit. And actually, you look at the results in the weekend, and Sri Lanka kind of didn't do as badly as other bigger sides have done as well. And Ireland are probably, off that bunch of teams we just mentioned, probably the most established one. Maybe the Netherlands are kind of up there as well. But I like, maybe it was a game which we can look at it, back at it, and point at like, right, this person underperformed, this person underperformed, this person underperformed. But we had the guile to get through it, and the difficult positions. Well, like you look at that bowling performance, and there was bits where it did feel a bit nervy, but actually, when we needed the wicket, they were able to do it. When they were able to control the run rate, pull the run rate away from them, and then kind of suffocate them at the end. And actually, there was one point when I hadn't realised it was nowhere near as close as it was actually, because we bowled them out, and there was just no chance they were going to get those kind of 40 runs that they needed in the last few overs. So yeah, I think there's a lot to be positive about actually, and obviously I do, because I've already applied for a visa to go to Ahmedabad. So like,
I agree, Mark. I do think, and just to go back to what I was saying earlier, which is I think honestly, I'm just trying to look at bowling attacks in this tournament, and if you look at how England struggled to contain Nepal, right? Nepal batted brilliantly, but we saw when England came here as well. I don't think they were a particularly good bowling attack. I think we hurt ourselves more than they hurt us. And I think really, if I had to rank the bowling attacks, I'd obviously put India up there because they've got Bumrah, who is a bowling attack on his own. And I put Pakistan there. I was very impressed with what I saw with Pakistan, just because of the versatility. They've got so many, Saim Ayub, Fahim Ashraf, they can do bits and pieces, and they're more than bits and pieces. Like Fahim Ashraf is a genuine bowler there, but obviously you saw what he can do with the bat. And Saim Ayub can do something with the ball, and he opens the batting. So, and then you got Abra, who's a great spinner, Mohammad Nawaz, good spinner, and obviously like Pakistan seamers are Pakistan seamers, whoever they bring in. So I would say we are. Unless I'm missing someone, maybe South Africa, but I don't even know that. I would say our bowling attack is probably top 3 in the tournament.
I don't know, Anton, as someone who's worked with a few of the other sides, would you say top 3? Would you give us top 3?
Top 3 in Sri Lankan conditions, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
even
as soon as something happens, I don't know. As soon as the team gets on that Sri Lankan Airlines flight across the water, something happens because it's not the same, So, I would agree with Madushka. I think South Africa is definitely up there now. Rabada is world class. Marco Jansen, absolutely world class. Anrich Nakir's got gas, but he needs to start hitting the stumps a little bit more to make himself really dangerous. And of course they've got some decent. I think the one thing that South Africa maybe misses is a good wrist spinner, but South Africa have hardly ever had that in the modern era. It's just something that we struggle to produce over here in South Africa. But yeah, I would probably put I'd give Sri Lanka top 3 in Sri Lanka. But yeah, from a coaching perspective, from a pure coach perspective, I think they've still got a hell of a lot to prove overseas.
Also, look, we'll let you go. I'll bring Dennis on because he's been waiting backstage. Dennis, how you doing, bro? How were you feeling during that game?
Yeah, it was a good game. I couldn't watch much of the betting. I was asleep, unfortunately, for it. But then I was, you know, you don't imagine the smile on my face when I opened up, you know, and I saw coming to like 44 off 18, and you know, yes, it's my dream come true. No, it was a good performance. I heard that the batting got kind of slow in the middle, like from the power play to what the 15th over to not have any boundaries is certainly concerning. And then the bowling, I just thought, yeah, I think we've talked about it quite a bit. The 6-5 option just made captaincy so much easier, I think, for Sri Lanka. Everything felt so. It just felt so relaxing for me as a fan as well, honestly. Like to be able to just not be concerned too much about things, and we were able to control. The bowling quite well, I would say.
Yeah. I just think the 6-5 just seems to make so much more sense, right? I kind of feel that, particularly kind of older Sri Lankan cricket fans, you know, and I include various family members of mine in this. They need to just get over the fact that it's 20 over cricket, and really, there's no point playing at kind of 5 or 6 runs and over, or you know, you need to go out with the intent of trying to hit 10 runs and over. And because of that, you just need to find basically the 5 or 6 guys who just hit the ball and find the boundary as frequently as possible and put them in. And actually just dragging in people to kind of that 7th batting position, it just becomes a totally pointless thing, especially as also because our tail just has absolutely nothing. So at best, they're just going to get stuck at like they're not even going to be able to run 1s and 2s. So if you are going to play with 7 batters, the 7th batter has got to be some kind of superhuman person who can just fight, you know, hit 3 boundaries and over and rotate the last ball or the penultimate ball of the over, because otherwise it's pointless with us. So yeah, I don't know if anyone else has kind of any strong thoughts about that, and maybe thinks it is a cultural issue why we've ended up being so late to the 6-5 party.
I think everyone sort of understands why that's happened. I mean, I've unfortunately been part of both our 50 all-out games for Sri Lanka, and it's not a nice feeling to have that for sure. And so, you know, the normal knee-jerk reaction is to bolster your batting lineup. But you know, T20 comes with natural risks anyway, right? So it's how you manage those risks. I think I've mentioned it earlier in this show today. It's like Kusal and Kamindu gave us a great blueprint of what intent looks like on these types of surfaces. It doesn't always mean to hit the ball straight down the ground and power, but you can sort of manipulate the ball into different areas of the fields, which will then make the bowlers change their lines or lengths, which then opens up your natural straight power hitting areas, right? And then I think another leaf that we can take from other teams is like I saw it happen a lot in the IPL this last year, and India seemed to do it a lot, is your strike rotation when it comes to the last 3 overs is actually irrelevant. It's about the amount of boundaries that you hit. So if Dasun is still there, or if a guy who's in, like a Kamindu, is still in there, just face every single ball. If you're batting with the tail, don't run. Just let him face every ball and try and get 10 runs, 12 runs plus yourself as a batter, instead of thinking, oh, I've got to hit a boundary and rotate. Because if the other guy goes out, or if he faces 2 dots, then that over is gone. It's finished, right? So playing with 6 specialized batters just makes even more sense if you think, okay, if we get to that scenario, then just let Dasun face 15 balls in a row. Like, there's no problem in that.
It's funny you mentioned that, because we actually saw that right in the penultimate ball of Sri Lanka's innings, where Kusal had put the ball away and there was 1 run there, and Waddy actually held them back and said, don't, because you're more likely to hit the boundary, which is real smart thinking, isn't it?
100%.
Like,
so now all of a sudden you're on number 6, if you're in that position and you're batting with the tail. So let's say, I mean, who would come in after Dasun or Wanindu? It's probably Chamira, right?
Yeah.
and he's good enough to hit a boundary, absolutely, but he's not good enough to do it consistently for the full over. So you want to be able to bat with him and say, listen, I'll face 5 balls here. I'll try and get as many runs as possible, and then I'll take a single off the last over, and then off the last ball of the over. And then if it gets into the last over and you face 1 or 2 balls, perfect. You're good enough to hit a boundary off that. But it's not his responsibility to face 10 to 15 balls. It's not. It's Dustin's responsibility, or whoever's batting with the tail at that stage. That's how I would approach batting if I was playing with the 6-5 split.
Should we kind of wrap this up? And Dennis, I'll let you go, bro. Thank you for joining us. By having a quick chat about what we think might happen or might change for the next game, or if you think it's just we just keep it at the same 11 that we saw today.
If Wanindu is fit, I don't see any reason why I would change anything with this side. But as I've mentioned earlier, if he's not fit, I think the knock-on effect that's going to have, I hope they don't make too many changes, but something just tells me that I think him being out might make like 2 or 3 changes to the lineup, which is exactly what you shouldn't be doing. I would try and make it a like-for-like replacement as best as possible and keep the status quo with the rest of the team. That would be what I think.
If as Anton said, if Wanindu is not fit, then it will be something similar to what happened in that 2011 final, right? When Angelo was injured, where they feel like they need to bring in a extra batter because of what Wanindu offers. So as Anton said, like if he's not fit, then that might not be just one change. It might be a couple of changes to the 11. And I don't know if he does have a niggle and they expect him to be fit for the rest of the tournament, they're likely to rest him, right? They wouldn't be looking at risking him again.
Again, it just depends how bad, obviously which grade tear it is, or if, even maybe it's not even a tear. So,
yeah.
But if it
I
is a tear,
didn't like how he reacted, right? It was like,
I thought he was done. I was flabbergasted when he came back on, which only makes me think. I think he said together with Sanath, he was like, we need to win this first game regardless. Yeah. So just get back. If you can bowl me 4 overs like he did, do that and we'll reassess. That's in my mind. That's what I'm thinking happened. Otherwise, there's a small glimmer of hope that he's actually not that injured. So I'm going to hold my breath on that last statement of mine.
Just as a thought experiment, Wanindu is injured. I think, let's say they go with Jeffrey Van der Sey. So then, right, and let's say we try to stick with 6-5. What does that team look like? Then we've got a very long tail, right? So and we've got Welalage basically batting top 6, and he's got to bat proper. So it's worrying. It's actually no, he'll be still the 7th batter.
Yeah. No, look, Wani didn't face many balls today, did he? So
no.
I was actually surprised they didn't bring him in earlier because he is stronger suited against spin bowling. But in saying that, like I said to you, the conditions, it's not conducive to shot playing. So the shots that you've got to play are the more dinkier type of shots that force the bowlers to come off their length, and then you can have a go. So I think from that perspective, you've got whoever comes in to fill up that hole needs to be able to bowl 4 overs. Otherwise you're then asking Dasun again to bowl a few more overs, whatever the case may be. So that's why I think you've got to try as best as possible to get a like for like in there, a quality bowler, and probably Jeffrey in my view is the next best wrist spinner. I think.
I think you got to go with Jeffrey.
Especially when I was there, he was 100%. He was one of the best wrist spinners. I don't know what's happened much since I've gone, but
no, he's been good. I don't think he's been bad.
And he bowls well at the Prima Dasa. He knows what length and what line and what pace to bowl. It's like it wouldn't be like you flying him in and you dropping him on a road in India somewhere and saying good luck. It's like literally phone him. He's going to come down the road. He knows how to bowl at Primadasa. It's like you can wake him up at 2 a.m. He's like, I'll roll a few out, take 2 wickets and get off the park. So that's probably where I would go.
I'll just chuck this comment in that's come in. Traveen Matthews could be a fine replacement for Wanindu Hasaranga. Come on. It's a World Cup. We deserve a Matthews in the squad.
I mean, so you go with two. Yeah, it could happen, but I've not seen Traveen Matthews bat. Does he? I'm assuming he doesn't. But I mean, not like Jeffrey Bandasay bat. Yeah, it's an option. I mean, selectors could choose.
Doesn't Jeffrey have like a test 50 or something?
Yeah. I think. Yeah,
completely went.
So I mean, again, like it could be a stroke. I mean, to be first and foremost, to be fair, I haven't really watched and seen Traveen bowl that much, so I can't comment on that. The only reason why I'm also bringing up Jeffrey's name is like it's experience.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a World Cup. He's been there. He's done it. He's not going to come into that game and feel overawed. He's not coming with baggage. He's not coming with nerves or whatever the case may be. He doesn't have to prove a point to anyone. Everyone knows what type of player he is. He knows what type of player. So I think it's a very easy drop-in fit, whether it is for a game or two to get one ready, whatever it is. I think just get him in, someone who's been there. He understands the environment. He understands the camp. He'll do a great job for us. I know that for sure.
And one suggestion I might make is when we lose Wanindu, you lose a proper spin hitter, right? So what I would suggest is maybe we take out Pavan and you roll the dice on KJP, Kusal, because we were talking about the reverse sweep and the sweep. He plays it well. Yes, he hasn't been in the greatest form. Yeah, there you go. KJP in for Pavan.
So, Bajishka, I think you're onto something there because, like I said to you, I think if conditions stay like this, and history tells you that they will stay like that, unless you leave this much grass on the Primadasa, that's the way the wicket's going to play, right? Yep. So you need to be able to have guys that play shots like Kamindu and Kusal gave you tonight. So if KJP is one of those dudes, get him in. But from a fielding coach's perspective, Pawan's a very good fielder, so you're losing something on that line to gain something on this line. So those are the types of things that selectors and the captains and coaches have to figure out. But absolutely,
Pawan did well on the boundary line today.
Yeah, he did very well. I thought Sri Lanka's fielding was good. It was obviously 10 times better than Ireland's one, but yeah, we took all our catches, which is great. So yeah, that's good signs.
I'll just say from my perspective. Go on, Estelle.
Sorry, Mark. You go ahead. Yeah.
No, well, I was just going to say, I think dropping Pavan at this point in his career, where he's kind of just come in, kind of starting to find his feet a little bit. I know, like that, some people will be really gutted, and they'll almost be offended with the way he got out today. But I kind of feel like you need to give young players the opportunity and the chances to kind of make their mistakes and kind of be okay with it, right? We can't come onto these shows and be intent. And when they start to show intent and it goes wrong, be like, no intent. Like, you've got to empower them to go out and do things.
One thing I'll just say in response to that is we probably made a mistake in picking him for the World Cup squad in the first place. Like, we picked him based on very little data, right? T20 wise, right? So he could turn out to be a very good T20 player, but he's literally come into the squad. He's got a century in ODIs. They put him in there. Then he played a T20 innings that was okay. If you look at the scorecard, 40 of 20 great innings, but there was a couple of edges in there. There was a top edge 6 to start things off. It wasn't Kamindu's T20 innings today. So can he replicate that? Can he replicate that regularly? Maybe he can, but do you want to find that out at a World Cup? That's the thing. Like, if it wasn't a World Cup, I'd be 100% on board with what you're saying, Mark. Yeah, play him the whole series, win or lose, give him the experience. I've been saying that about Welalage since the 2024 World Cup. Just play him in every game. and play him in the top order, get him to improve his spin, just keep playing him. But do you want to test that out with Pavan, or do you try to? Because if KJP fires, he is such an explosive option.
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating discussion point because you could lean both ways. I think we're sort of lucky with the fixture list because Oman's next, right? Am I correct?
Yeah.
So you probably to give the guy a bit of confidence to support him a little bit more and give him a few more opportunities, and as a coaching staff, give him a few more tools to operate out in the middle in Pramadasa with some sweeps and whatever the case may be. Give him another go against Oman and see how he goes from there. If he shows you a little bit of improvement, absolutely, you stick with the youngster and you go and you run with it. If not, you've still got 2 games against quality opposition where KJP as a senior guy can potentially come in and play in those teams. But I think, as one of the coaches that I look up to always said, as soon as you feel like you want to make a change in the side or drop a player, just give him one more game. It is the first game of the World Cup. There are a lot of nerves. We definitely saw that from our batting group. But if I was a batter and a coaching staff, just look at those 2 batters who made runs there, because that's the blueprint needed to score runs on this ground.
Guys, should we leave it there for today?
Yeah.
Go
One
on,
point.
Esty. Go.
Just to bring things back to Jeffrey Van der Sar very quickly.
Yeah.
I think, as Anton said, if you look across the board, he's the next best bowler who could come in, right? Like if you look at it, Dushan Hemanta will probably give you more, or he has a better batting record. We haven't seen him do anything in international cricket, let's be honest, right? They say he can bat, but we haven't seen anything with the bat. He is a better fielder, yes, but as a bowler, Jeffrey Van der Sar is probably the best. However, to throw a spanner into all our discussions, they can't bring him in unless they pull Wanindu out of the squad.
Yeah, that's true.
So they're going to have to make a decision whether they want to stick around and wait and see whether he's going to get fit, or they're going to, or say, look, this is a serious injury, he's not going to be available, we need to replace him. So that's the big problem they're going to face, right? They have to make a decision now.
And that's why you don't pick an extra batter in the squad without putting in a backup spinner. Like,
look, Sri Lankan cricket squads have been known for
also
players
for
to go
you
down
have
with
to have
injury or illness.
He has to be injured. There has to be an injury. You can't just say, we don't want Sharif anymore, let's bring somebody else.
ST, that's why you're the best journalist, eh? That's because you know all those stuff. Now you make a huge correct, 100% correct point, and that's why I think tonight the medical staff they've got a hell of a night ahead of them tonight, because it's going to be a long one. Figuring out what to do with Wani.
The most important thing is though, we've got those 2 points on the board.
Yes.
We're up and running. We're on the move. We're on the go. We beat, there's 3 test playing nations in this group that we've got to play. We've beat one of them already. Get a good result against Oman, and then we're in a really good position coming after that. We know it's going to be tough, right? But we're winning.
Yeah, Mark, I think just on that, like if I can make my last point, like how good has the World Cup been so far? With these teams pushing the so-called big dogs all the way to the end, because it's making for riveting viewing. And a nice thing for Sri Lanka is that at least it didn't happen to them. So now we pass the baton on to the next team, because these teams are just going to be gaining confidence every single game. The more they get used to the bright lights and playing in front of the big audiences and that sort of stuff. So good luck to the rest of the teams, because, USA looked the real deal. Nepal had a great game. The Dutch are very well coached, and they're experienced now. They're a good group of cricketers. I'm sure that they're going to turn something upside down in that group over there. And, we nearly saw it with Afghanistan today as well, with in that group, because that group is also going to turn out to be an interesting one. But so far it's been an unbelievable World Cup, because these teams are now getting closer and closer and closer and closer and closer and closer. All they need is just a few more games in these circumstances, so that they can get the exposure and the game time that they need.
Yeah.
It's finally
Watch out for
turning
Oman
into a
tomorrow.
World Cup, isn't it? Like
Correct.
Yeah.
it's finally turning into a World Cup.
So you
Yes.
won the upset tomorrow, man. Oman, Zimbabwe. Watch out for those
Yeah.
Omani the spinners. They're gonna do it.
Yes.
I'm looking
Yes.
forward to Scotland and Italy. I'm going to wake up at 5:30 to watch
Oh
it.
yeah.
I mean, Italy in
Yeah.
a World Cup is crazy. I mean, like half that team Sri Lankan anyway. I think, right? So
Well, there's a few South Africans in there as well.
yeah.
Yeah, also they've got like the coolest named fastball, I think, in the World Cup, Thomas Draco, which is just
Yeah.
like
No,
Yeah.
it's going to be riveting. I mean, and you know what? I was there with the Dutch team. What is in 2014 was my first time in the World Cup with them, and I tell you, it's an unbelievable experience that those guys are going to have playing in that game. They were going to be playing with so much joy and fun, and I just hope it goes well for them, because if they're the first team to do an upset in this World Cup, it's going to be a great story. That's for sure.
Amazing. Guys, we leave it there. I'd go on for another few hours, but I just feel bad with taking up so much of other people's time. We'll be back though after the game against Oman. Hopefully, that's a success for Sri Lanka. If there's any major updates regarding Wanindu's injury, then maybe we might try and rust up an emergency pod. If it turns out that it is looking a bit touch and go, maybe we might try and muster religious clergy members of various major religions and some minor ones and get them on a kind of prayer group for the hamstring. Stick with us with the Murali End. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back on Thursday, I think it is. See you all then. Bye.
It's the Murali End, you're the place to be. Analyze the players and the team. Keep a great company in the stream.
It's a Murali End. Welcome to the show. We're here when you're high. We're here when you're low. Some days you're happy, some days you wanna when happy it's we when man it's them. It's the same place, Murali End. Sri Lanka cricket we go represent. So tell a friend.